Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me for another online yoga class. Today we're going to be working with the element of fire. So it's going to be quite an intense class. We're going to be building lots of heat through strength building exercises and postures. If you're more of an earth or water type person, this class may be a little bit challenging for you. If you're familiar with or if you're more comfortable with seated positions, more restorative style yoga, this class may end up feeling like a little bit of a challenge, but that means that you may need to incorporate more of this into your practice. If you're very earth and water based, bringing that fire in is really going to help you, especially with digestion, kickstarting your metabolism and like toning your muscles and your core as well. It's super important to practice. If you're more of an air type, I just warn you that you're going to be, and by air type I mean if you have a lot of energy and then it diminishes very quickly. So you go from 100% to like nothing very quickly. This class, I just want you to go steady. Make sure you find a strong foundation and a comfortable position in the posture first, and then look for the burning sensation as time progresses. So don't look for the burning sensation and wear yourself out until you have no resources left. If you're a fire type person already, you're probably going to love this posture. You may even want to make it harder for yourself. You may want to add weights, add dynamic movement, bring more heat, more sweat. You're going to love it. Another thing to note is that you don't want to overdo it with the fire. So it is here today, it's a hot day, so there's already a lot of fire in the air, in the environment. So don't go beyond a point that feels comfortable. If you feel like you're blacking out or you're running out of energy resources, just come down to a rest. We're looking for strength building, the heat in the muscles, the heat in the core, but make sure that you listen to your body as well. Go gently and please enjoy the class. Thank you so much. Namaste. Okay, so we're going to start in a comfortable seated position, whatever that looks like for you. You can sit cross legs on a block, extend your legs out in front or sit on your shins. We're going to begin by connecting to Agni Mudra, which is the thumb connected to the root of the middle finger or the knuckle of the middle finger. If that doesn't feel comfortable on the fingers, you can just rest your hands on your knees or in your lap, whatever feels best for you. And just begin to connect to your Ujjayi Pranayama, breathing in and out through the nose, creating a small restriction to the back of the throat as we exhale. Allow your mind to clear any circulating thoughts. Allow them to pass by without attaching any stories or judgments to them. Remain centered and present here in your body and your breath. Allow the mind to stay aware. Breathing in the fresh new energy within each inhale. And with each exhale, you let go, you cleanse yourself of anything that no longer serves you. Take one more deep breath in through the nose. Hold it at the top. Exhale, let it go through the mouth. Softly blink the eyes open. Bring the palms back together at the heart center. Namaste. So we're going to begin with Kapalabhati Pranayama. So this is going to be a dynamic breath movement. If you have high blood pressure, if you're pregnant, if you have epilepsy or any heart disease, please just continue practicing your Ujjayi Pranayama, deep breathing in and out through the nose. What we're going to be doing is creating energy, heat. We're going to be kickstarting our metabolism and working our core. So really getting the digestive fires going. This is going to be helpful for us later in our practice as well by warming up the core abdominal muscles. So very briefly I'll explain, and then we'll do 3 rounds for about 20 breaths. You're going to take a deep breath in through the nose, you're going to fill up all the way to the belly, and then as we exhale you're going to contract the abdominal muscles, draw your belly button back towards your spine and expel any air on a sharp exhale. You should be inhaling between each exhale. So it's not just one breath where you keep exhaling out. You should be maintaining a breath, but the inhale should be so short, excuse me, that you shouldn't be having to bring any awareness to it. It should just be happening naturally. So for example, you'll be inhaling
into the belly as you exhale for 20, about 20 roughly. Okay, and we're going to take 3 rounds. If at any point you feel lightheaded, you feel a little bit exhausted, you can just skip it. As long as you're feeling a little bit of that dynamic energy coming in, then that's all we're looking for. So deep breath in through the nose, hands can just rest where they're comfortable. Exhale, begin. Exhale. 1 recovery breath. Deep breath in. Second round. And exhale. Recovery breath. Hopefully you're feeling that beginning to work in your core. Exhale. Deep breath in. Begin. Exhale. Recovery breath. Hopefully you're feeling that a new energy. Hopefully you're beginning to wake up a little bit through the body. So this is a really good thing to practice first thing in the morning. And what you're doing is you're engaging all those muscles around the core, and you're going to be bringing that fire into your belly so that throughout the day you're going to have the more productive digestive system. Okay, spinal warm-up. So bring the right hand to the outside of the right hip. Inhale to extend up through the left fingertips. As we exhale, we side bend over to the right. Maybe you come down onto the elbow, maybe not. Maybe looking up towards the ceiling, tuning into how you're feeling here in the shoulders, in the hips. Make sure that both sit bones stay grounded. How are you feeling in the neck? Inhale, come through center. Exhale, left hand to the outside of the left hip. Inhale, reach up through the right fingertips. Exhale, side bend over to the left. Again, grounding through both sit bones. Spiraling the chest up towards the ceiling. Maybe looking up towards the ceiling as long as it's comfortable. Never force it. Hips should be level. Inhale, come through center, reach up. Exhale, right hand to the outside of the right hip, left hand towards the right knee. As we inhale, we create that space, we lift up. And as we exhale, we twist, beginning to look out over the right shoulder. Inhale, come through center, reach up. Exhale, left hand to the outside of the left hip, right hand towards the left knee. Inhale to create that space and expand. As we exhale, we twist. Inhale, come through center, reach up. Exhale, release the hands down. We'll come onto our tabletop position. So just wrists underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, feet flat out behind you. As we inhale, we move into cow pose, crown of the head up, chest forward, belly down, tailbone up. Exhale into cat. Rounding the spine, lifting and separating the shoulder blades as the crown of the head releases down. Take 2 more of each at your own pace, following your own breath rhythms. On your next breath in, come back to a neutral spine. We'll come into our first downward facing dog. Bring the palms forward slightly, fingers spread nice and wide, the wrist creases in line with the short edge of the mat. Tuck the toes under, lift the sit bones up and back towards the ceiling. Knees can stay bent to start with, but just check in that the feet are hips distance apart, toes should be facing forward. Steadying your breath, focus on grounding down through the index finger and thumb side of the hands. Make sure they're not rolling out to the outer edges of the hands. Strong through the forearms, spiraling the upper arms away from the ears so you've got plenty of space around the neck. So you're actually going to focus here on depressing the shoulder blades, so drawing them down and retracting them around to the sides. So this way you've got the most possible space around the neck, there should be no tension, and you're not kind of hunching around the ears. If you're here and you find that you've still got a little bit of space on the back of the legs, you can begin to press the heels down towards the floor, either one at a time, beginning to bring in some dynamic movement, or you can just press them down and begin to reach through the heels, beginning to feel a nice stretch along the hamstrings. Making sure that the chest is melting down towards the backs of the legs or the thighs, and you can look towards the toes, the knees, or the belly button. Steadying your breath. On your next breath in, look forward to the space between the hands, and as many steps as you need, we're going to walk to a ragdoll. So feet hips distance apart or even wider, knees bent, opposite hand to opposite elbow, or let your arms hang heavy as you bring some soft movements into the spine, the neck, the head, maybe beginning to extend one leg towards straight at a time, noticing how you're feeling in your hamstrings. And then when you're ready, release a hold of the elbows, staying strong and rooted through the feet, bent through the knees, begin to roll up the spine, stacking one vertebrae at a time over your hips, until your chin comes parallel with the floor. Take that movement as slowly as you need to. Namaste, big toes touching, a little bit of space between the heels, knees drawn up, quadriceps engaged, tailbone draws down, shoulders up and away from the ears, palms face slightly forward, and your chin is parallel. For anyone who's familiar with them, using your bandhas is going to be quite useful today because it helps bring the energy inwards. It helps you stay light as you work with the strength building postures. So Mula Bandha, your pelvic floor lifted to about 60% of your capacity. Uddiyana Bandha, your belly button drawing back and up towards your ribs to about 40% of your capacity. This just helps, keeps the strength within your center of gravity, your pelvis. It helps you stay strong and allows you to surrender to the postures a little bit more. So it's a really useful tool, especially when we're working with heat building exercises and more dynamic movements. If you forget, don't worry about it too much. We're going to take 3 rounds of Surya Namaskara A. First round is modified. So coming to the front of the mat, Ekam. As we inhale, bring the arms up overhead, shoulders away from the ears, palms face each other, look forward. Keep the low belly drawn in and the tailbone down. Try to avoid sticking your butt out the back. As we exhale, we bend the knees slightly, hinge forward from the hips, bring the hands down to thighs, shins, or towards the floor. As we inhale, we begin to lengthen the spine, come up with a flat back. Legs are towards straight. If they are straight, keep the hips over the heels. As we exhale, bend the knees as much as you need to plant the hands on the floor. Stepping back to plank, we're going to lower all the way down onto the belly with the knees lifted or lowered. As we inhale, we press into baby cobra, so keep the elbows drawn into ribs, chest looking forward, lifting the chin up. Try to avoid really activating the glutes here. There's a tendency to kind of squeeze the butt. You want to be strong in the legs, but you don't really want to be putting too much tension in the glutes. Exhale, forehead releases down, pressing through the hands, come back through kind of a long tabletop, and then tuck the toes under downward facing dog. Knees can be bent or straight. Feeling the heat beginning to circulate throughout the body as we bring this fire into our practice. Warming up through the muscle groups, bringing mobility through the joint groups. As we inhale, look forward in as many steps as you need. Come forward to that halfway lift. Nice straight spine, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, gentle bend to the knees as the crown of the head releases towards the floor. As we inhale, straight spine if you can, strong through the legs, come all the way up, looking forward, shoulders away from the ears. And as we exhale, Samastitihi, back to the front of the mat. Second round, I'll offer some different options if you wanted to take them. As we inhale, arms up overhead. This time, maybe bring the palms together, looking towards the thumbs. Remember to keep the shoulders down away from the ears. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips. If you're going to bring your legs towards straight this time, remember hips over the heels, maybe palms of the hands flat to the floor as the crown of the head releases down. Inhale, straight spine, look forward. Maybe the hands stay on the floor this time. Exhale, step, or if it's in your practice, try floating or jumping back, bending the knees, bandhas engaged. Land lightly in chaturanga, shoulders no lower than elbows, keep your knees lifted. As we inhale, maybe press into upward facing dog, rolling over the toes or flipping the feet, arms towards straight, knees are lifted. Again, try to avoid really activating those glutes too tightly. Exhale, so flip over the feet or roll over the toes, downward facing dog, readjusting yourself as needed. Steady your breath. Find your drishti, so toes, knees or belly button, depending on where feels most comfortable in your neck. There should be no tension in the neck or the head. You should be able to move it comfortably. Steadying your breath. Deep expansive inhales and exhales into your lungs. Try to get the inhales to match the exhales. Inhale, look forward to the space between the hands. Step, or if you want to try jumping or floating forward, bend the knees, keep the hips high, keep looking forward as we bring the weight into the hands. Land as lightly as you can, lifting up into the halfway lift. Exhale, crown of the head releases towards the floor. Inhale, all the way back up, Samastitihi, tall Samastitihi, looking towards the thumbs. Exhale, release down. Last round, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, steadying your breath. Keeping the low belly drawn in to protect the spine. So having all those muscles activated around the Uddiyana Bandha, your core, is going to really help protect your spine by bringing some integrity into it, making sure you've got nice strong foundations around your spine. Inhale, step or jump forward as you look forward. Exhale, crown of the head releases down. Inhale, come all the way back up, maybe look up. Exhale, Samastitihi. Okay, moving into our standing sequence, we're going to come into Uttita Parsvakonasana, extended side angle posture. So we're going to bring our legs to about 5 feet wide, arms out to shoulder height as we inhale. As we exhale, we're going to rotate our right toes to face the short edge of the mat, stack the right knee over the right ankle, bring the right hand either to the outside of the foot, the inside of the foot or a block, or forearm to the thigh, palm faces up. Bring the left hand up towards the ceiling, or if it's comfortable and you're happy to begin to open up through the shoulders, beginning to warm up the shoulders, bring it alongside the ear, looking up towards the fingertips. Okay, so you should be feeling nice and low in those hips. The front leg should be towards parallel with the floor, and then the front leg should be more towards perpendicular with the floor. The shin, sorry. Steadying your breath, low belly draws in, strong through the outer edge of the left foot. And as we inhale, pressing through that right foot to come all the way back up. And as we exhale, we'll come over to the left side, so left toes face out, exhale to release into whichever variation feels best to you. Remember, you don't have to match. As long as you're feeling similar sensations, you should be feeling strength building in that left quadricep. You should feel nice and active through the outer edge of the right leg and the right foot. And you should be feeling some heat beginning to come into your shoulders and your arm muscles, so around your shoulder joint, your shoulder girdle. Steady your breath. If you can't breathe deep, full inhales and exhales, it may be an indication you've come a little bit too far into the posture. Inhale, look down, press up, come all the way back up to center. Release the hands as we exhale. So we're going to move into Virabhadrasana A and B. So we're going to turn the right toes out, stack the right knee over the right ankle. If you're feeling super open in the external rotation of the left leg, you can keep that foot where it is. So your heel to heel alignment here. If you're not feeling it so much or you feel pain in the knee, you can bring that foot wider and more towards 45 degrees, beginning to square the hips off to the short edge of the mat. Depending where you're feeling, there's different schools of thought on this variation in yoga. We're going to work with this variation today because I feel like it's the most heat building. So right knee over right ankle, nice and low in the hips, bringing the arms up overhead. So you can either join the palms of the hands together, looking towards the thumbs, focus on bringing the shoulders in line with each other so that the ribs square off to the short edge of the mat, even if the hips are opening up. If you're here and your hips are opening up, it may feel even better just to bring the hands to the waist, focus on aligning the hips with the short edge of the mat. Okay, so lots of different variations. You should be feeling nice heat activation in that front quadricep, hopefully in the arms as well. Deep breathing. One more breath in. And then as we exhale, we're going to open the arms to warrior two. So if you're in the first variation, the legs are going to stay exactly the same. If you're in the slightly wider version, just bring that right foot back and make sure the outer edge of the foot is parallel with the short edge of the mat. Looking towards the middle finger of the right hand. Again, sinking low into the hips, feeling that front leg beginning to build some heat. Inhale, extend up. Bring the right toes in slightly so the flat edge is parallel. Exhale over to the left, looking towards the left middle finger. So coming into warrior two first, then we'll transition into warrior one. Make sure that that back arm doesn't drop down. Keep it parallel. Fingertips together, looking towards the middle finger of the left hand, feeling the energy, the heat building. Okay, transitioning now into Virabhadrasana A. So you can just focus on spiraling the top half of the body, aligning the ribs to face the front edge of the mat. Or if there's any pain in the knee especially, make sure you bring that foot a little bit wider, foot to more towards 45 degrees, okay? So more like hips distance apart. Sink low into the hips, feel the activation in the quadricep of the left leg. And then inhale, come back to center, bring both toes in, exhale, release the hands to the waist. Coming into Prasarita Padottanasana, toes in slightly, inhale, lengthen and lift the chest, look up. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips, bring the hands down towards the floor. Inhale to lengthen, crown of the head draws away from the tailbone. As we exhale, the crown of the head releases down towards the floor. Palms nice and flat. Shoulder distance apart. Make sure your elbows aren't falling out to the side and they're in line with the shoulders as well. Maybe the crown of the head begins to reach down towards the floor. Nice and active through the fronts of the legs. The quadriceps are nice and strong, so you should feel a lovely even stretch along the backs of the legs. Inhale, head up, look forward. Exhale. Inhale, bring the hands to the waist, come all the way back up to center, and exhale here. Heel toe the feet in slightly, so the heels are in more than the toes now. So toes are facing out at about 45 degrees roughly. Utthita Konasana, goddess pose. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit our hips low, check in here that the knees are facing the same direction as the toes. What you don't want is the knees caving in. If they're caving in, maybe just bring the feet in slightly more or adjust the angle of the feet so that they're facing the same direction as the knees. Get the hips low. You can bring your hands towards your thighs, thumbs on the inside, fingers on the outside, or you can bring your palms to your heart center. Maybe beginning to bring some movement into this, feeling the heat beginning to activate in the quadriceps. Nice tall spine, so crown of the head over the hips. Try to avoid coming forward like this. Instead, stay nice and tall. Hips lower. Okay, if you wanted to try adding a little bit more heat, lift the right heels up. Release it down. Lift the left heel up. Release it down. One breath, lift both heels up. Release it down, sink lower. Inhale, come back up. 5-pointed star. Exhale to release down. And step forward to Samastitihi, to the front of the mat. We're going to come into Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, or a variation of that. We're going to start by bringing the left hand to the left hip, grounding down through the left foot. Nice strong foundation. I recommend if you wanted a wall here for support, feel free to use a wall. You're going to inhale to bring the right toes in towards your chest. So the first option is to interlace the peace fingers around the big toe, extend towards straight. Okay, maybe that's not in the practice for you. You can always interlace the fingers around the shins, okay? You should be feeling a nice stretch here in the back of the leg. Maybe you're just working in the direction of straight and you're kind of more like here. Looking towards the big toe, nice and strong through your standing leg. Steady breath, bandhas activated, so the low belly drawn in, nice and secure, supporting your spine. Okay, moving into C variation. What we're going to do is we're going to let go of the right toe, but try to keep the leg where it is. Toes can point, you're looking towards the right big toe. If your leg is bent, that's fine, keep your leg bent. You should be feeling a real big activation of the quadriceps and the psoas muscle, the hip flexors, to try and keep that leg nice and active. You may feel shaking, that's fine. Steady your breath and release down. Shake it out. You may feel that in the standing leg as well. Whew. Hopefully you're feeling the fire, I certainly am. Grounding now through the right foot. Bring the right hand to the waist. Bring the left knee in, so maybe that's just taking a hold of the shin or the peace fingers around the big toe, extending towards straight, maybe here. Maybe it's reaching straight, looking towards the right big toe. Steady your breath, steady your gaze. Shoulder draws away from the ear. Nice tall spine. And then very gently release the foot. Keep it lifted, looking towards the left big toe. Both hands can be on the waist, or if it feels more comfortable, bring them out to like an aeroplane, so you feel a little bit more balanced, or you can take hold of the wall. Feel it really beginning to bring that fire into the left leg and the right leg as well, the standing leg. And release. Well done. And shake it out. Whew. Moving into our seated portion of the class, we're going to come through a vinyasa, so come to the front of the mat. Ekam. Inhale, bring the arms up overhead. Low ribs drawn in, tailbone draws down. Exhale, dui. Belly towards the thighs as we bring the palms of the hands towards the floor. Inhale, head up, look forward. Exhale, step or float back, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, and from our downward facing dog, we're going to come through to Navasana, boat pose. So the first option is just to drop to the shins, sit the hips back to the heels and extend your legs out in front. Or you can bring your right knee to your right wrist, left knee to left wrist, bring the strength into the arms and then sit through. If you wanted to work more with jumping through, then you can do that same process, bringing the strength into the arms, but try to keep the hip flexors nice and active so you can extend your legs out in front without them touching the floor. A little bit of practice on that one. Okay, so for boat pose, Navasana, there's a few options you can take. First option is to take hold of the back of the thighs, begin to bring the legs towards parallel. If you're not feeling it in your core, this may be an indication you're not going far enough. Only you can tell if you're going far enough in this posture. So to take it a little bit further, you can release the hold of the legs, bring the arms out in front, fingers together, palms face up. To take it even further, begin to bring the legs towards straight, looking towards the toes. Now this also brings the strength building into the hip flexors and the quadriceps. So you should be feeling not only a little bit of shaking, hopefully in the belly, but in the legs as well. Steady your breath, look towards your toes. Nice tall spine. If you find that you're rounding or caving in through the chest, just take hold of the back of the legs. Make sure you prioritize a nice straight spine over how deep you come into the posture. Exhale to release, cross at the shins. We're just going to have a little hip lift in between, so bring the palms just in front of the hips, ground down through the hands, lift up, strengthening the core and the arms as well. Release down. We'll take 3 rounds, so second round. Steady your breath, steady your gaze. Shaking is okay, it means it's doing something. Release, cross at the shins, pick up. Last round, make it count. And release, cross at the shins, pick up the hips. We're going to come back to a plank pose, Phalakasana. So bring the palms either in front of the thighs, beside the thighs, pick up the hips and step back to plank, or bring the palms in front and just roll over so you come onto the tops of the knees and step back to plank. Okay, so if you have any pains in the wrists, feel free to come into like a forearm plank. So forearms parallel, fingers spread nice and wide, looking to the space in between the hands, nice and long through the back of the neck. Okay, if you're up on your hands and your wrists feel okay, then still looking to just in front of your hands towards the front edge of the mat. Nice long line from the crown of the head to the heels. Release the knees. Sit the hips back to the heels. You can bring the knees together all wide as we release into Balasana, child's pose, just to restore our breath. This is quite a dynamic practice, quite a heat building practice for obvious reasons. I am naturally very much a water / earth type person, so this is quite an intense practice for me. Some of you maybe not so much, but heat building has never been my strong suit. I know it's good for me though, so I try to do it as much as I can. For all of you air types especially, tune into how you're feeling. We've still got plenty of energy left. Make sure you conserve enough so you don't burn yourself out by the end of the day. All of you lovely fire type people, how are you doing? Did you want to add more heat in? Feel free to add in any more dynamic movements that you wanted to take, any more weights as well can be a useful tool to add into this practice if you wanted more heat. Okay, and then very gently walk the hands back up. We're going to come into either Malasana or Bakasana. So we've done a lot of core strengthening now. We're going to take that into practice as well as our hip flexor strengthening. So we have the option for an arm balance that's going to use all of these muscles that we've just been strengthening. If you're not feeling the arm balance, if you've got pains in the wrist as well, just stay in Malasana, work with openings through the inner thighs, work with pressing into the backs of the arms with the knees, so you've got that strength building element as well. So I'm going to come at it from a downward facing dog. You can just step forward if you prefer. So looking towards the hands, you can step or float your feet to the outside of the hands, about mat distance apart. Feet about 45 degrees out, roughly. So they're facing the same direction as the knees like they did in Utkatasana Konasana. Bring the hips low. If you're kind of here and your heels are lifted, you can roll up the front edge of the mat to support the heels. If as well, your butt's lifted and it doesn't, well, your butt should be lifted, but if it doesn't feel comfortable and you feel unbalanced, you can place a block underneath your butt and use that as the support. So if you're just here, we're already working with strengthening the wrists by pressing the palms of the hands together. Same, if they're in the floor, you're going to be working with pressing into the floor. Work with strengthening the backs of the inner thighs by pressing the knees gently into the backs of the arms, as if you're squeezing yourself, giving yourself a hug with your knees. And then with just as much resistance, press the backs of the arms back into the knees. So you've got this kind of equilibrium of energy and heat transferring through the arms, through the legs. You should be feeling a nice stretch in your inner thighs. You're more than welcome to stay here. This is really good warm-up position, prep position, and you're working all the same muscles as well. But if you wanted to try the arm balance, we're going to come into Bakasana. So from your Malasana, you're going to bring your palms down towards the floor, shoulder distance apart, fingers spread nice and wide, but with a little bit of space under the knuckles so you've got that mobility in the fingers to support yourself. You're going to bring your torso towards parallel with the floor, bring your feet in together, and then you're going to bring your knees to the tops of the arms, tilt forward, maybe bring one foot up, Maybe bring 2 feet up, looking to the space in front of you, feeling the heat building in the arms. Activate your core, squeeze yourself with your legs. Steady your breath, steady your gaze. You're welcome to hang out here for a little bit longer if you wanted to, or if you're ready, release down. You can always pause the video if you wanted to work with that as well. Release the wrists, whichever variation you're in. Okay, and we're going to come down onto our backs. Bring the feet out in front. Lay down flat. So you're, excuse me, sorry, my hair's in the way. You're going to bring your heels in towards your sit bones. Knees, hips and ankles are all in line with each other. We're going to come into a dynamic Setu Bandhasana with a leg lift as well to begin to heat up, bringing some energy into the glutes as well. The hip extenders, which we haven't worked that much with in this practice yet. So we're going to make sure we get to those as well. Toes in slightly, so the flat edges of the feet are parallel with the flat edges of the mat. We're going to start off with some dynamic movement. So bring the palms down, engaging into the mat. As we inhale, pelvis moves into a posterior tilt. Tailbone reaches towards the backs of the legs as we lift up. As we exhale, we round the spine, lower down. Don't rest down, just hover down. Make it a dynamic movement as we inhale, lift up. Exhale, down. Again, not resting down. At the top, squeeze the glutes. Feeling them beginning to bring some heat. Okay, if you're feeling already enough of a burn here, you can stay here. Or if you wanted to try a little bit more, bring the right leg up so that the knees are together, well, hips distance apart but facing the same direction, and then lower the hips down but keep the right leg extended. Feel it in the left glute, hopefully. Release the right leg. Bring the left leg out. Toes can be pointed or flexed. Begin on the left side, feeling that right glute really squeezing as you get to the top. Strong through your right foot. One more. Release the foot. And gently lower down. Well done. If you wanted to practice a bit more of that, again, if you're a fire type person and you're enjoying that, feel free to add on more, add on weights if you've got them on top of the thighs. Brilliant. You can do that if you wouldn't. So we're going to come into Supta Parivitasana. Bring the arms out to shoulder height, like a capital T position or a goalpost position. Bring the knees in towards the chest. Supta Parivitasana. As we exhale, we lower the knees over to the right. Look over to the left. Begin to slow down your breathing. Inhale, knees to center. If you wanted to, just use your core. If you're feeling it, exhale over to the left slowly as you can. If you wanted even more of a stretch, a core strengthener, you can bring your legs towards straight. For full belly twisting posture, looking over to the right. Hopefully feeling a nice stretch along the shoulders as well, opening through the collarbone. Inhale, come through center using that core slowly as you need to. Give your legs a little squeeze into the chest. Exhale, we're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet together, knees fall open to the side. Rest your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your belly. If you feel stable, maybe close your eyes. Breathing deep in and out through the nose. Feeling the belly beginning to lift as we let go of our Uddiyana Bandha, our core. Feel it expanding. So we've just spent a good amount of energy creating this fire, creating this heat within our body. Now is the time to let all that process. So we're moving into a state of rest and digest. So all that heat that we've been building is going to move into our digestion. It's all going to establish itself within our bodies. So make sure you don't skip out on rest. You're welcome to stay here for a little bit longer if you'd like. If you're ready to come into your Shavasana, you can use your hands to help. Bring your knees to center. Extend your legs out long, bring the feet out to the front corners of the mat. Nice and wide, release your arms alongside the body. Softly close the eyes if they weren't already. Breathing deep in and out through the nose. Feel the belly expanding. Let go of your Ujjayi Pranayama, your bandhas if you had a hold of them, and allow your soft natural rhythms to return. Noticing how you feel here as the body has been moved into some quite extreme postures, some quite heat building, dynamic movements. Notice how you're feeling within your muscles and your legs. Maybe you've got a slight tingling sensation as you can feel the muscles repairing and regenerating themselves. Allow them to become still, allow your body to work as it needs to work, as the mind quiets and the breath calms. I encourage you to stay in your Shavasana for at least another 3 to 5 minutes if you've got the time. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. As you go forward, I wish you peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, peace in your heart. Namaste.